Welcome everybody, Solaris here. Today I'm gonna show you a tier list for Super Season 2. I'm also gonna name some of the best players with every hero so you know who to ask if you wanna learn to use any of them. I'm gonna leave their media in the description anyways. Just like the last one, this is a tier list to keep in consideration top ranked matches. This is gonna be a long video, so let's jump directly into it. The worst hero in the game in the D tier for Super Season 2 is Zero Kelvin. He didn't get any buffs since last season, so he's obviously gonna remain in the lowest tier. His gun damage isn't that bad and his snowman ability is very good for self-sustain. The ultimate is very strong to hold some close and small areas. It deals a lot of damage and disrupts enemies' formation. The main problem in his kit is that his snowballs are so hard to aim because of the map ground. They sometimes just miss because they jump randomly or destroy themselves hitting some walls. Being the worst hero in the game, you won't see him often in ranked. The best Zero Kelvin players I've seen are probably WCG or Gregory. He actually only decent in Giga Cave Mine and only in the first checkpoint thanks to his decent close range damage and overall self-sustain with passive and second active. Something important to do when you play Zero Kelvin is not waste the snowball as soon as you spawn it. When you're fighting, keep it next to you to heal yourself while you're shooting, and then throw it to the damage to the enemies. What I would like them to do to buff him is first fix his snowballs and secondly slightly increase his gun damage or increase his ammo capacity. Next, on the D tier we have the worst support in the game, Sindri. She got nerfed so hard last season she became almost completely useless. Her gun damage is so low you lose almost every 1v1 you take. The turret damage is also very low and her healing power is not as good as all the other supports, being the only AoE type. The ultimate can secure a pick, so it's very important not to waste it, but you won't see many Sindris in superstar rank, and when you see them they are mostly throwers. That's because support meta is focused so much on another hero that does everything better. There aren't any good Sindri players, so I'd say the best one is probably WCG. When you play Sindri, it's very important to use the turret recall often to keep yourself alive. That's probably the best part of her kit, and not many players use it properly. Next in the D tier we have the first flanker Vincent. He got some changes from last season and now has less HP, even if he already had a very low HP bar. His overall kit is good, but you'll probably never use the pistol and only go for sword skills. The clone ability can be used as a shield or distraction for the enemies, and the cloak ability is what makes him viable, so it's important to use his cooldown at your best. The ultimate can be used as an escape, or also used aggressively to go for kills together with the scan. If I think about Vincent, the first player that comes to my mind is obviously T3 God, because he's the best Vincent in the game right now. Something I learned playing Vincent is that you have to use him with the autofire off. So many times I died because it would autofire with a pistol and take off my cloak, and I would just die because of it. Also remember, his skin is a bit loose, so don't use it until it's fixed. Last hero in the D tier is Diggy. She got a decent buff, but it didn't make up for how weak she was. Her gun is unfortunately still the same, very inconsistent and very low damage unless you're in the enemy's face. The sharp form is the same, but the TP got much faster. It finally gets some usage and can be used in some pretty cool ways. Her ultimate has always been good and deals a lot of damage. This season there are no good Diggy players at a high rank. Most people who use her are throwers, but there have been some good ones in the past season, like Blackout or Frying Pan. I've been playing some Diggy as well, and the biggest tip I can give you if you wanna use her is to not go for headshots, but shoot their body instead. The bullet spread on her gun is so big that if you aim for the head, most of the bullets won't hit. Also something that not many people might know is that her ultimate hits Jabali through his shield, so you can easily finish him off when he's low. Now let's start with the C tier. At the bottom we got Johnny Jet. He got a big nerf since last season, but it wasn't really needed. His damage is much lower than before, and he basically needs to be into the enemy's face to one-clip them. His jump ability and paddle are the core of his kit, but I would honestly like to see the double paddle back like in the past to balance his low damage. The second active helps him with the DPS, but its damage obviously ain't that crazy, and the same goes for the ultimate. What I really like about him though is the ability to slow down the enemies. If we're talking about Johnny Jets, I will always say that the best is Wake Up, even if he doesn't play anymore. Right now though, the best Johnny is probably WCG, but there aren't many people playing him. If you want to learn to use him, make sure to turn off the auto fire because it fucks up your invisibility, and also turn off friction aim assist. Next in the C tier is Gatlyn, who was the best hero in the game last season. She got a very big nerf to her damage, and they also increased their bullet spread. They also removed the infinite ammo from her laser mode, the second active ability. This doesn't mean that she is bad right now. Her damage is still great, but not being able to laser flankers pushing you makes her not very viable, also because of her lacking mobility. You won't see many Gatlyn, also because there aren't that many Labula players anymore who work so well with her. The best Gatlyn players in my opinion are probably IJ, Ossas, or my boy Gucci. She isn't that hard to use, so if you wanna improve on her, the only thing to work on is your positioning, because aiming with her is so easy thanks to how strong the aim assist is on her. Then, always in the C tier, we get the second worst support, Chemist, who got some really needed changes since last update. She has more ammo and a higher fire rate, and her anti-heal finally goes through shields, which is a very big change. Her gun can finally put out some damage thanks to the higher fire rate, but her healing is still lacking compared to some other supports. Also considering that healing with her, we can say, is harder than how it is with other healers. Her anti-heal is so clutch in certain situations, but we can say that her ultimate is still useless, or it's just a big heal. The only good player I know that uses her is, as you probably can guess, WCG, the projectile go. Since the last buff, she can heal herself not only with her first active, but also with her ultimate. Next hero in the C tier is another flanker and is a Shell. She didn't get any changes since last update, so she just got a lower rating simply because of how the meta developed. Her gun is still one of the best, if not the best, in the flanker role in my opinion, and works so well with the healing passive. What makes her not that great is the rest of her kit. Her phasing ability is strong, but doesn't help her get high ground positions like most of the better flankers can do. Her second active is just more damage that is not needed for her, and the ultimate is useless most of the time. There is actually a decent amount of players using her because she is overall easy to use. The best one is again WCG, and her honorable mentions Range or He Cries. Unfortunately right now she's a bit buggy, so if you phase and press the second active too early you get desynced, so be aware and use the second active before phasing or just wait a little bit longer. Last hero in the C tier is Mark. People from the Asian server will probably disagree with me on this one, so let's say it could be higher in the list as well. He is an overall solid and safe pick on most maps. His gun damage is insane, he got moving with his skateboard active and self-sustain with his passive, but there are two factors that made me put him C tier. First thing first is that there are two other DPS heroes who can do what he does, but better, and they are Hunter and Gloria. And second thing is his ultimate. On last patch they improved it so that now the entire team sees enemies through walls, and that's very good, but the problem with it is that during the entire duration of your ultimate you don't get aim assist, and that makes it so hard for you to win fights, especially against other DPSs. The best marks in the game are in my opinion WCG and Baru, but as for the last heroes, there aren't that many players using him. We can now start with the B tier with Ya. She got a small buff that improved her gameplay so much. Last season she relied so much on her ultimate and wasn't very good without it because she lacked damage, but now she has 13 bullets per mag and is actually good even without the ultimate. Her dash is still the best part of her kit, together with the ultimate of course, but I still hope they're gonna fix her deflect. Either fixing the fact that you can shoot her feet when she's deflecting, or just make it like Genji deflects. Because right now there are some heroes that even if you deflect, the damage still goes through, like Cristina's bombs or Jabali's gun. The two best Yas in the game are for sure T3 God and Sol from the Asia server. She is very good in the meta right now because even if her deflect isn't working properly, it works well against some heroes that are very often used like Gloria and Shell. Next hero in the B tier is Judex. In my opinion, she is the most underrated hero in the game. Basically nobody plays her, but she is so strong and counters some of the top tier heroes as well. She didn't get any changes since last season. Her gun is still so strong and doesn't even need to hit headshots to do good with it. and both her actives are very easy to use, both the stun and the flashbang. The ultimate is usually just used to keep control of the objective or prevent enemies from going on it. I'd like to see a change to her passive, for example by making her reload 2 bullets at a time or something along that line. As I said, not many people use her at a high level. She's mainly only picked to counter Aletas. The best players I know who use her are Slime and Super Bean. Something I learned by using her is that it's important not to use your active abilities at the same time, because that's usually an overkill, and also use them to enable plays for your teammates. We can say the B tier is the tier for the underrated heroes that have a better version of themselves in the higher tiers. So now we can talk about Ford. Ford didn't get any changes since last season, but right now every tank besides Zero Kelvin is much stronger. Ford gun deals a lot of damage, and both his active help a lot staying alive and protecting the objective, especially if you have a good support teammate. But I really don't like his ultimate. He works very well into high tier heroes like Fade or Ossas, but doesn't do so well against Aletas. As many other heroes, not many players do use Ford, so the best player with him I'd say is WCG, as for most of the projectile heroes. Something important to know is that his second active prevents Ford from being CC'd, so abilities like Ruby's Rock or Fade Pin won't work on him. Next in the B tier is Kazama. Since the last update, he got a small buff that gave him 2 more rockets. It wasn't a big buff, but still a buff. He has been one of the best heroes in the game for a small period of time because of a movement glitch, which got fixed luckily. His main gun damage is very good if you can hit direct shots, but drops drastically when you don't. His damage is not easy to balance because increasing it might make him overpower. His movement abilities are some of the best in the game. The first active is strong during 1v1s, meanwhile the second one is often used as a movement like an escape or just repositioning between fights. His ultimate is also very strong and can be used as a finisher or in very rare situations as an escape as well. For some reason, not many people use him, even if he's one of the most fun heroes to use in the game in my opinion. As for the other projectile heroes, the best Kazama is WCG, and if you want to use him, it's very important you don't have autofire turned on. In the B tier, we also have the first actual strong support, Iris. Since last season, she got a big change to her gun that improved her so much. It's so much easier to hit your shots with her, and that makes a very big difference because she can now help with DPS and fight back in 1v1s. Her heal drone is very good, has a low cooldown and even has a 10% damage buff to whoever has it. Her Discord orb is the same, but finally has a sound cue, and the ultimate is still dog shit. Not just kidding, it's a decent ultimate, but only really works if you use it to keep your tanks alive. She is very strong if paired with a good DPS as a pocket, like Ossas. There are some very good Iris players like Xeris and Dumpy, but she is overshadowed by another support, surprise surprise Neon, so you won't really see her often. Next, on the B tier is Hunter. He is one of the heroes that made me put Mark in the C tier. His gun deals so much damage so fast. He has a better heal, he has movement speed, and basically has a Mark ultimate as his first active ability. His ultimate recharges so fast and not only deals so much damage but can be used to knock back tanks or push away counters. He's very underrated and is mainly used in the Asia region, but there are good Hunter players in every region. The best ones in my opinion are Jazuki, Seikun, and Sol. What's so good about him, besides being so versatile, is that you don't really need to be accurate with him. You can just hit body shots and the damage would still be so high. We also already seen his second ultimate, which is basically going to be Symmetra Wall, and I'm so excited to use it. The last hero in the B tier is gonna be Hua Ling. She is very situational, she dominates against certain comps, but is basically unusable against some others. She is, for example, very hard to use against double shield comps. She got a small buff since last season. Her second active now lasts longer and you get a speed boost while in it, so it can be used as an escape or a way to flank enemies and catch them off guard. I also think they increased their arrow hitbox because it feels much easier to hit shots compared to last season. I honestly think they should also revert her bow damage back to 7k because of how strong neon shields are. They didn't change anything about her snare, which is still only used as a slow and rarely gets you kills. She might get much better when second ultimate come back though. There's only a few good Huas out there, but the best ones are probably Sol and Bleb. Even if she is a DPS, she works so well when used as a flanker to get peaks on off angles, especially if you have a high DPS teammate like Cristina and Gloria who can pull the aggro. Now, starting at the bottom of the A tier is Ruby. She didn't get any changes since last season, but dropped from almost the top of the A tier because of how good the rest of the tanks are right now. Her main gut damage is super high at close range, and her shields are so strong considering she is the only hero that can move shields while fighting. Her rock stun ability is the best part of her kit obviously because of how long the stun lasts, but her ultimate is very strong as well. She's overall pretty easy to use. The only thing you need to learn when using her is the timing with the rock and its trajectory. But it's also very important to learn to use all three of your shields to protect yourself and learn to move in between them to block the damage. All the heroes in the A tier are used quite often. The best rubies in the game in my opinion are Hades and Ozelic. For the first time in the tier list we now have Ono. His main gun deals so much damage, especially the third shot that gets extra damage. His shields work so well with flankers, but are overall good to protect anybody. Don't forget to use it to protect your support as well. The second active is a close range ability that deals a lot of damage, but it's very slow, just like his main projectile speed. The main problem I've seen playing him is that his projectile hitbox is much smaller than how it looks, and sometimes it's very hard to hit them consistently. The ultimate doesn't deal much damage, but can be used to counter some enemies' ultimates or knock some enemies off the objective. He's still pretty rare, so not many of you guys have probably even played with or against the Ono player. Even at a high rank, there aren't that many. The best one I've seen is Myron. Next, in the A tier we have Gloria. Since last season, she got a big damage buff on her all rifle, and now she shreds everything. Her time to kill is very high, and her ability to wall clip makes her super strong, especially on off angles. She is also very good at flanking thanks to her passive speed boost. The shotgun isn't great, but works decently at close range. The second active helps her camping style. It can be so annoying sometimes and literally gives you free heals, sending enemies flying in the air. The ultimate is also very good, deals a ton of damage and also goes for jab shield, so you can use it to finish him off. There are a lot of Gloria players, and that's basically in every rank because she is very easy to use. But the best in the game are probably Ozelic, Jazuki and Kev. In the A tier we also have another tank, and that's Victor. Since last season he got a crazy big buff. He now has more ammo and a higher damage that makes his shotgun very consistent and reliable even at longer range. Comboed with 2 dashes, you can shoot so many times and deal so much damage, you can basically shred any shield or enemy. They also fixed some interaction between his second active and the auto fire, which was kind of a problem in the past because firing stopped the ability, so you couldn't heal yourself. He's very strong and his entire kit works perfectly together, but he is not an objective tank. If you wanna play Victor, you need to make space for your team rather than just protect point or push the payload. Put pressure on the enemy team and have someone else take care of the objective. Even if Victor is so strong, not many people use him. The best I've seen are for sure Gregory, Hades and Myron. In the A tier we also have the second best support, Labula. He didn't get any changes and still is very strong. He's much harder to use than other support heroes because positioning and cooldown management with him are very important, especially because he has some crazy ability like the immortality field that can decide fights. He's unfortunately outclassed in his role by another hero, Neon, and I say unfortunately because he's one of my favorite heroes in the game. His damage is also very good, and combined with his first active ability can even make you win 1v1s against other DPS heroes. but I think he's gonna get back to being S tier when the second ultimates get released again. As for the previous support heroes, there aren't that many people using them, but the best lab right now is Crazy. And a special mention to when me and Slimy were the best labs in the game. I mean, let me boost my ego a bit, you know? Highest in the A tier is Katie. We could also honestly put her in the S tier, but I think the remaining DPS are stronger than her, so that's why I decided to put her as the best in the A tier. But don't get me wrong, she is crazy strong and she is also very easy to play. She's probably the safest DPS pick in any situation and counters a lot of the high tier heroes. Her gun damage is insane, especially when you get the passive shot. Her web and roll ability are also very strong and can be used together to use the fly attack. Her ultimate is strong, but she's gonna get even better with her second ability, with the dance ability. There are a lot of good Skadi players, but the best ones in my opinion are Rodeo, the Skadi Goat, Pimi and Kaizen. Remember to use the fly attack safely and not too often because it's very risky and you can find yourself with no abilities and just die because of it. It's much better to use the web and the roll ability alone and just use the fly attack when you see somebody that's isolated. Let's say somebody just like this fucker who's trying to wall clip from high ground. We start off the S tier with Cristina. They increased their AoE back to normal during last season balance changes and she's OP now. She's really strong. Her damage is insane and you literally get kills shooting randomly sometimes, like across the map or when you're shooting inside a smoke. She is very toxic if combined with Neon. Sometimes it feels like you just cannot kill them together. Her sticky bombs can help DPS with the main gun or get kills just placing all three of them into a wall. The ultimate helps her even more dealing damage and she also has an escape ability with her second active. In higher ranks you see a Cristina almost every game because of how dominant she is and how fast she shreds tanks. There are a lot of strong Cristina players, but the best ones are WCG and Rodeo for sure. As all the other projectile hero, playing her without autofire is a must, but I personally also like having friction off. Now we have the second best tank in the game, who in my opinion is Jabali. I had to put some thought into it to decide which is the best tank in the game for this season, and I decided to pick Fade. Don't get me wrong, Jabali is super strong and probably a safer option than most of the other tanks because he's very easy to use and very easy to get value with. His shielding is probably the best in the game and he also has a very high damage, both with his gun and his second active. There are so many Jabali players, you will probably see a jab every game, but the best ones in the game are Gregory and Oppai. Remember, his gun goes through shields, so in a jab 1v1 you shouldn't be holding your shield, but just shoot. Next, we got the best tank, and as I said, it's Fade. He didn't get any changes since last season, but people just learned how to use him and holy shit, he's busted. His gun damage is so high and even if his projectiles are so slow, they are so easy to hit. His bubble shield is crazy big and has a very low cooldown besides working perfectly with his pin ability, which is just busted. You pin any squishy and they're dead. You pin a tank and you're able to also deal 5k more damage before they get out of the stun. It also counters jabs because it goes through his shield. His ultimate is also very good to isolate enemies or to kill them by just throwing them off the map. There aren't as many Fade players as Jab because he's a bit harder to play and it's a bit harder to get value with him. But the best ones I've seen are Hades, Gregory and my boy Saul. We finally got to my favorite hero, I mean everyone's favorite hero, the best flanker in the game, Aleta. She got a small change since last season, she now has 20 bullets instead of 40 and has a lower fire rate but a higher damage per bullet. She basically has the same DPS, but it's just gonna be a bit worse when you're on a higher ping because less shots gonna register. The rest is the same. She has the best movement in the game with 3 dashes, double jump. She has a crazy good ability for self-sustain with her recall and has a one-clip potential together with her decoy ultimate, which does so much damage. There are so many Aleta players and so many of them are crazy good, but the best ones in my opinion are Slime, Saul, and Rings. It's important if you want to improve on her to always keep a couple dashes to escape, together with your recall. And if you're struggling with the tracking, try to double jump less, you're gonna be much more accurate. She's one of the hardest hero to use, and target priority with her is very important. So at the start of the game, scout the enemy team comp and focus their support and high priority DPS. Now, as the second best hero in the game, we got the best support hero, Neon. She is so insanely OP, I really think she needs some type of nerf or some shit. Because of how good she is, every other support hero becomes a throw pick, which is fucking insane. Her healing is the best in the game and is so easy to use, she can even heal herself. She also gave overshields to the entire team with the same ability. She can TP away when she is getting focused, and let's be honest, that ability could take a couple more seconds on its cooldown. The immortality you get from her ultimate is also busted. You can use it to stall point on your own or use it to win an already lost fight. She is overall very easy to use as well and is basically in every high tier game you'll see, unless you wanna hear your teammate screaming and begging someone to switch. The best Neon players I know are Super Bean and Dumpy. And finally, the best hero in the game right now is surprise Ossas. He didn't get any changes since last season, so he's still very dominant. His ability to one-shot almost everything makes him able to carry games on his own, together with being able to make aggressive plays and not get punished thanks to his fly and smoke ability. He also has some self-heal in his ultimate, and I don't really wanna see how they're gonna balance his TPs because I'm very scared. He's the best hero if you wanna carry even at lower ranks, but obviously he relies heavily on hitting your shots to get value, but that's not very hard because of how strong the aim assist is. There are so many strong Ossas in the game. The best ones in my opinion are Baru, Myron, Slime, IJ, and you or Gay from the MB Club. This is the end of the video. Thanks everybody for watching, and thanks to everybody who has helped me to get all the clips in the video. It took me so long to do, so I'd love if you could give me a like and a sub and leave a comment letting me know your opinion about the tier list. Thanks again, see you into the next video.